With Deadpool and Wolverine now out, let's go back and look at the three Deadpool movies that are out in Deadpool, Deadpool 2, and Deadpool Wolverine and rank them from my favorite to my least favorite. Now, before we get into this ranking, I just want to let you guys know I don't believe there is a incorrect order when you rank these three movies. I think these three movies could be in the conversation with one of the greatest trilogies of all time. I love all these Deadpool movies, so this is just how I feel about it. It's so close that I will take any ranking. You can have these three in any order, and it's correct. That's how good these movies are. So, without further ado, let's get into my ranking right now. Number 3 is the first Deadpool movie. The movie that kick-started this character coming from the comic book page to the big screen. A character we didn't think we were actually maybe ever going to get because of the nature of who Deadpool is. But when we got the first Deadpool, I remember sitting down and watching it for the very first time and just laughing so much. Just how good this movie was with the humor, with the action, with the character, with the story itself. Everything about the first Deadpool just worked. And this gave birth to the idea that maybe potentially we could get more Deadpool movies. Now, Ryan Reynolds cast as Deadpool in this movie was the literal definition of perfect casting. This man, Ryan Reynolds, was born to play Deadpool. Just everything about his performance, it just screamed Deadpool. And now, whenever you see him in the comic book movies or anything like that, you just see Deadpool. I thought his humor is just brilliant for this role. When you get into the action is awesome, especially on the motorway there on that bridge there where Francis is there and Deadpool's after him. I loved how that whole action sequence happened, and then you bring in characters like Colossal and you have this dynamic between him and Deadpool that were just so good on screen. And I'll never forget the little T-Rex moment where it's like everyone is scared. All the dinosaurs were scared of the T-Rex. And, the kicks and that. This was just a great introduction to the Deadpool world and where we were going to go. The fourth wall breaks were fantastic. The jokes, like I said, the humor was the humor we expect when it comes to Deadpool. Not holding back. And obviously, every single movie moving forward, I think, got funnier and funnier. But this movie holds a special place in my heart because it started everything. I like where we got the story with Wade and how he became Deadpool, the origin story, which I thought was great as well. The visual effects were great. The soundtrack is absolutely godlike brilliant in this first one. So I really like that. And I really like the final fight. When, Colossus comes up, Mega Warhead Teenage, whatever her name is there. They got to save Vanessa. I loved all that. And Francis, and then when he goes, I'm going to fucking spell it out for you. And he spells Francis out with the bodies. Just this movie, I could pop this movie on and just have a joyous time with it. That's how good the first Deadpool is. For me, it's number 3, but it's hard to put it at the bottom here. Like I said, I love all these movies. And it at number 3 doesn't mean it's horrible. Like, we're talking about, like, the peak of the peak, ranking them. And for me, it just comes in at number 3. Number 2 is Deadpool 2. I like Deadpool 2 a slightly bit better than the first Deadpool. And the reason why I like it more is because Deadpool 2, to me, doesn't have a true villain of the movie. Now, when we go into comic book movies, we're used to having heroes versus villains. That's what we're all used to. But I love it when we have movies like this in this genre where they take a different approach and they don't actually have a true villain of the story. So there's no like main villain where you're like, this person is the evil villain behind everything or anything like that. This is a story about a kid who has mutant powers known as Russell, who is going to do something bad in the future because of the way that he was treated in that institute where he was. And I love how everything is centered around that and Wade Wilson, Deadpool, having his moment where he's lost Vanessa in this insane sequence at the start where he loses Vanessa and now he wants to get back to her. So he's trying everything he can do to kill himself. But obviously, Deadpool is literally almost unkillable because he just regenerates all the time and just regrows. You just can't kill him. So there is no ultimate villain that they have to defeat that is, the center point of it. It is an amalgamation of different things. Even Cable. I know some people could say Cable is the villain. Cable isn't really the villain because he is trying to save his family in the past as well by killing Russell to stop him from killing that person and getting the taste of killing people. So I like how they have these different plot lines and plot devices going on at once, and they integrate into this beautiful moment at the end where Deadpool sacrifices himself to save Russell. And then, that touches Cable, where Cable's like, okay, this is going to save my kids, but he's right. If we can change this and change the way that Russell grows up so we don't have to kill him, it's just this beautiful story. So I think, to me, this story is a bit better than the first Deadpool. And I would argue this is actually a better story than Deadpool and Wolverine. I would argue that. And I just really like that. And, introducing the X-Force moment, that whole sequence may be one of the funniest sequences in all of, Deadpool and, comic book history. That is just hilarious. I loved all that stuff. Ryan Reynolds is fantastic as Deadpool again. Then you have the likes of, Josh Brolin coming in and playing Cable. Fantastic. The kid that plays Russell is great as well. And yeah, I really enjoy it. And like I said, the action is great. We got to see Juggernaut in here as well. There's all that stuff. Colossus has his own moment. We get those, insane, those funny moments in the X-Men mansion as well. So I really like Deadpool 2, and I like it just a tad more than the original one. So for me, it's number 2. And number 1 is Deadpool and Wolverine. Like I said, I don't think this is the best story when it comes to the Deadpool movies. Now, I'm going to go into a bit of spoilers here. So if you haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine, click off and probably go watch it and then come back. But we're going to go into it. Now, the reason why I think the other 2 Deadpools have a better story than this one is because the whole anchor beam doesn't make sense with the TVA and stuff. That's kind of like, okay, I understand why they're trying to do that so they can bring Logan back. But again, it just doesn't make sense with the whole MCU or anything like that. So, because that's never been mentioned in Loki at all. And it also creates a bit of a plot hole where it's like, Logan never existed in that timeline at a certain period. So the anchor beam was never born. So how did that exist without him? So wouldn't it exist without him? There's a whole thing you can dive into. But outside of that, and maybe Cassandra Nova, the villain, being a little bit underwhelming. I think Frances is a better villain than her. I think she was underutilized there in this movie. But outside of that, I think this is the funniest one out of the 3. It is hilarious, man. I am surprised I didn't wet myself. That's how much I was loving. The jokes were fantastic. The comedic timing, fantastic. But what makes the moment so great is those facial expressions, those little details of when the line is delivered and you have Deadpool looking at the camera and we pan to him, like the Wesley Snipes stuff with his line about Blade. I'm going to be the only Blade. And it turns to Deadpool who's looking at the camera and he does that face where you're like, it just adds that extra bit of comedy on top of it that just nails it. So I love that. Hugh Jackman back as Logan, back as Wolverine, in the suit that we've all been wanting to see in the live action. I must say, it looked absolutely incredible. And he was phenomenal, man. So freaking good. And that dynamic, that relationship between Wolverine and Deadpool was everything I dreamt about in this type of movie. It was everything I want. And the action of this movie, I think the action in this movie is the best. I think this is probably the most violent and bloody one out of all of them, especially that third and final act when Wolverine goes on that absolute rampage against all the other Deadpools. That was fantastic. I think, the cameos in this movie were great. They weren't just the cameos for the sake of it. There's an odd one here, like the Henry Cavill one. Give me that Henry Cavill Wolverine right now. Marvel, need that. So you had those little things like that, the short Wolverine. Can we all get over having short Wolverine now? We don't want that. You have like those cameos, but then you have the major cameos that actually participate in the plot and have narrative purpose. Gambit, Channing Tatum as Gambit, we need that. We need that in the MCU. You had that Elektra. You had Johnny Storm in here as well. You had a great moment with that. You have Blade in here. They all play their part within the story. So I really like that. I thought this was like, if they were to end this as a trilogy and just didn't have a Deadpool 4, I think this was a great movie to end on. And to me, I feel like it completed an arc. And, giving Wade the idea and the motivation of that he wants to mean something. He wants to actually, feel worthy. Feel like he's made a difference in life. So this gave that as well. So for me, Deadpool and Wolverine, it's my favorite one. It's my favorite one, and I can't wait to watch it again and again and again. So there you have it. That is my ranking of the Deadpool movies. Let me know yours down below. Like I said, there is no incorrect ranking of the Deadpool movies. They can go in any order, and I have zero problem with it because they are all so close to each other. They all have different things that I think make them great, like a great origin story for Wade in the first one, a great story and characters in the second one, and then you have the funniest Deadpool with Hugh Jackman in it as well, something that we've been waiting for. So every single one has its own thing, but as you put it together as a trilogy, it is just superb. So let me know your rankings. Smash it down there. Smash that like button. Click subscribe. And I'll see you guys next video. Until then, stay safe and peace out.